Hello everybody, I'm back. Been a while since I've done a video. Apologies for that. There's been a lot happening in my life at the moment. A lot of problems with computers, which is hopefully behind me. And one of the things I've really missed doing is actually making videos. And yeah, so I want to get back into the swing of making videos again. And the first thing I wanted to do was to make a video on FS-UAE and looking at the more advanced setup of FS-UAE. Now, if you haven't got FS-UAE set up, then I recommend that you check out my first video. That's just going through the installation of FS-UAE. And as you can see, I'm on Ubuntu for today, but you can run this on Windows, you can run this on Mac, you can run it on any flavor of Linux that you want, really. But I've chosen Ubuntu as that's a really popular distribution, so hopefully a lot of people can follow along. So we've got FS-UAE here, and I'm just going to show what I've got set up so far. So if we go into our documents folder and FS-UAE, I've got a folder called ADF, and within there I've got some programs, I've got Better Workbench, and I've got Workbench 3.1. I am eventually going to be looking at Workbench 3.2, which has recently been released by Hyperion. So I'm really interested to see what changes have been made in that. So at some point, yeah, I'll be doing a video on that, so don't worry. So yeah, we've got our install disks that we've known for ages. Kickstarts, we've got all of our Kickstart ROMs that we've had from the Amiga Forever pack. Brilliant. So that's where we are at the moment. And as you can see on the actual launcher, I'm not logged in. I haven't got any configurations at all. This is completely fresh. Normally what I'd suggest is to click on new config and change all these around or everything. But I've already done a video on this and I found that the configuration didn't save, which was really irritating. So don't try to save the configuration to begin with. That is going to be the last step. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to have a Amiga 1200. So on the first screen, I'm going to change my model to 1200. I'm going to make sure that I've got the 3.1 ROMs selected. And then we'll move on to the next tab up here, which is floppy disks. So I'm going to have 4 drives to select. Okay, now it's very tempting to sort of like go into each of these and go, okay, I want Workbench, oh, I want extras, I want fonts, I want in each of these lines. But you'll find quickly that you won't be able to change to the other disks. FS-UAE kind of does a weird thing of how it manages disks as opposed to WinUAE. What you have to do is put them into a list. So we've got a media swap list here. So if I click on the little plus icon just here, I'm in my ADF folder, Workbench, and here's all of my disks that I want to use. Okay, so we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 disks. Okay, so we select all of those, click open, and they appear in this list down here. Okay, we haven't selected them up here, it's just in this media swap list for the moment. Okay, brilliant. On to the next thing, CD-ROMs. I don't care about CD-ROMs for the moment. Hard drives. Okay, so at the moment, if I go back to my folders, FS-UAE, there we go. I've got a hard drive folder at the moment, but there's nothing in it at all. So I haven't got a hard drive set up. So what have we got to do? So we've got to go to the FS-UAE icon in the top left-hand corner. And then we're going to select the HDF creator. Okay, and this brings up this. Now there's 2 options. There's the really easy option that just creates one single partition, which is a DH0 drive. And you just put whatever you want on there. Or you could sort of like pretend that you've got a real hard drive and you have to use the Amiga to partition it into different partitions. So it's what's called a partitionable hard drive. Now, I recommend for starters just going with the single partition option. Later down the road, as you get more confident, have a play with partitionable hard drive. So top one selected, I'm going to call this Workbench. And size, I can make it 500 megabytes, why not? Tons of space for Amiga. Okay, so let's click on create. And then we get a little message say disk image created. There we go. We don't need to click on create again. Just close that window. And then onto hard drives, we go to this file icon here, browse for file. Click on that. There's our Workbench HDF. Click on open. There we go. It's been added. Excellent. Okay, on to the next one. ROMs and RAMs. Right, okay. So we selected in the first menu the Kickstart 3.1, so we don't have to worry about this. If you've got a custom ROM of some kind, then this is where you'd have to point to it exactly. So chip RAM. If we tick the little option, it means that we can edit the default configuration. So Amiga 1200 comes with 2 megabytes of RAM. We could update it to 4 chips of RAM. Why not? And then rather than fast RAM, I'm going to go to Zorro 3 fast memory, and let's select 128 megabytes. Okay. We've got other options, like if you add in a graphics card, you can add some RAM to that as well. But let's move on. Input options, well, we're not too fussed with that. We're not going to be playing games with this, so the joystick isn't too much of a problem at the moment. Expansions. Okay, so expansions, we're not going to change too much here, but if you've got an accelerator board, you can sort of like make a PPC board, or if you emulate a Blizzard card of some kind. But you do need the ROMs and things for that. So, and as well, if you wanted a graphics card, if you wanted retargetable tool graphics with the Picasso, that also is an option here. You'd go with the UAE GFX option. I'd recommend if you want to go down that route. But we're not going to do that today. And as well, if you wanted network, then you'd choose that option there. Okay, so on to the last one, so the additional configuration. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the CPU, and I'm going to choose an 68030 processor, which is 32 bits, which uses the Zorro 3 fast memory, hence why we can get up to this amount of memory. If you find that you use like an 68EC020 processor, that's kind of 24 bits, and it means that you can only address the fast RAM here of up to 8 megabytes. Okay, so that's the reason why I've gone with Zorro 3 fast memory here, and I've gone with a CPU of an 030. Okay. Next option, JIT compiler. JIT compiler is just magic and makes things really, really fast. It runs the CPU at very, very fast speeds. So make sure that's ticked and make sure that's set to enable. Floppy drive speed, well, I'm going to tick that, and we're going to go to turbo because who wants to wait for floppy disks? And as well, I don't think we need any of these options, so I'm going to leave that there. So we're at the end now. So what we need to do with all our settings, we need to type in our name for our configuration. So Amiga 1200 expanded, I'm going to call it, and then click on the little save config. There we go, it's saved, and There we go, just to check. Yeah, there's all of our options saved. So all we need to do now is double click on the name of our configuration. So we've booted it up and we've come to this screen. Now it means that DH0 hasn't been formatted, but at least it's detecting the hard drive. But we haven't inserted any floppy disks yet. So that's why we haven't loaded into Workbench yet. So what we need to do is press F12. Then we'll go down to DF0, which is empty at the moment. Press enter. And then there's this list of all the disks that we selected. So I'm going to go to install first, and then we'll do control Amiga. There we go. So we've got the install disk. If I press F12, go to DF1, I'm going to put in my Workbench disk. Wait for that to load. There we go. Now, before we install Workbench, we need to actually format our hard drive because DH0 at the moment is not being detected properly. So we just need to select it, go to icons, right click, hold down right click, icons, format disk. It's shown as 500 megabytes, which is good. Let's call that system. Won't put a trash can in there, but it'll be fast file system. So quick format. Yep, format. Yep. There we go. Nice and fast. Okay, so let's go to install 3.1 and then let's go through an installation of Workbench. Yeah, into system, totally fine. Yes, yes. I've got to choose British because that's what I am. And then there we go. It's now copying all the data. Now what you'll hear probably in the background is the floppy drive sound going really, really fast. You can turn that off in the options if you want, but I'll just keep it on anyway. Okay, now it's asking for the locale disk. So we do F12, DF2, locale. There we go. Oh, already it needs extras. Let's use DF2 again. Just select the locale disk. I want to change it to extras. Amiga fonts. So there we go. And storage. So again, F12, and let's select. Well, let's use DF3. We've got DF3, so storage. There we go. And then we're done. So we now need to remove all of the floppy drives that we've got. So we can do that by just going to the first one, go up to the top, eject, press F12 again, and then go for each one, eject, F12, eject, F12, go to the last one, eject. There we go. Just to double check, yeah, all of our floppy drives have been ejected, and then let's proceed. That then reboots it, and then there we go. We've got our nice Amiga setup. As you can see, this is just super quick to load up because it's using that JIT compiler, and yeah, things are nice and snappy. So now you'll probably ask, oh, hang on, Mike, what about better Workbench? How are we going to get that installed? Because if I go to DF0, yeah, it's not in the list. What am I going to do? So what we're going to do is we're going to close down the emulation by selecting the X in the corner. Go back to this screen. We're then going to go back to the media swap list. We're going to then select, we're then going to go to the media swap list that is in the floppy disks tab. Click on the minus, and that will then remove the floppy drives. Sadly, you've got to do that for each one. Or can you just remove them all? Oh, you can clear the list with that button there. And then it's kind of a repeat again. So let's click on the plus. This time I'm going to choose Better Workbench, and I'm going to choose, so there should be 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Select all of those. They're all selected. Double click on config again. There we go. Press F12. And then we go with disk 1, which is the miscellaneous. There we go. Install Better Workbench. There it goes. Now it wants tools, so we could just use DF0. Tools is number 2. So a lot of this needs that kind of preparation of knowing what disks you're going to use. The problem you start to get problems when you go to remove a disk, and then you look in this list and you go, oh, I didn't add disk whatever into my list. What you'd then have to do is close down the emulator, go back into the configuration, and add your game into this, your disk into that list, load up the emulator again, and then you can select the disk. It's kind of annoying, but it's just the way that FS-UAE works. So you have to kind of plan ahead of what disks you're going to use. And hopefully in the configurations that you make, generally you'll use the same disks for the configuration that you choose. So maybe you've got a game that you run that has 3 disks in it. Just make that config with those 3 disks, and that's it basically. Here we go. We're getting through this setup. We're getting there. I'll finish this off, and then we'll finish the video. But this gives me a time to talk a little bit about this channel, really. What kind of things do you want me to look at with regards to the Amiga? Do you want me to do more stuff on the DE10 Nano FPGA stuff that we were doing before? Maybe looking at other systems? Or what kind of videos do you want on WinUAE? If you want to learn some more about WinUAE, I've covered a lot in my videos already, but maybe there's something that I've missed off. But let me know in the comments what you'd like to see for my future videos. So we're coming up to the end now. There we go. Yep. So this is the last part. Do you really want to have... No, let's just choose no on that options. Goodbye, it says. Goodbye. Oh, we're going to remove all the disks. Right, we only used 1 disk in the end. And then Control Windows, or Control Amiga. And there we go. We've got a super fast, Better Workbench 3.1 setup with tons of stuff to play around with. install loads of different applications and whatever you want, basically, all within FS-UAE. So I hope this video was helpful. Yeah, as I said before, leave a comment below on what you'd like to see in future videos, or if you've got any questions regards this video. And yeah, hopefully I'll be making more videos in the near future. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.